Hey guys, so today I want to show you a install of a classic clamshell rooftop tent, our Black Series edition there, that we're going to be fitting to this awesome looking FJ Cruiser. Now, it's not just a cruiser that's that's a bit different. We don't always get the FJs in the workshop, but it's more to do with the front runner roof rack. So this is a explanation on which bracketry we're going to be using for a front runner platform or front runner roof rack, as you can see on the top of this car. So what we've chosen to go with, and when I'm on the vehicle I'll show you why, is we're going to go with our Z-rails. Now, Z-rails are a great go-to when it comes to mounting. It just makes it simple. Because of the shape, you can get a bolt on and a nut easy on that side and on the inside, so you can actually get your spanners in and your tools in as needed. They're also designed with the taper on the front edge for when you're overhanging over the front of a dual cab. We won't use it in this instant, but that's just one of the features. And also having variable slot holes, as you can see, gives us the adjustability of the tents, 150 mils forward or 150 mils backwards. Other than that, we've got some slotted laser cut 8mm slots down the bottom rail, which is our mounting or our foot section of the rail. And this you can always use and see if it lines up. Now, obviously, there's a whole bunch of custom different type of roof racks out there, so you might have to drill the odd hole if needed. On these, we shouldn't have to, as long as the roof rack's lining up. So let's get up there and have a look. Alrighty, now a front runner roof rack. Notice on the front runners, they have got their slats running widthways of the vehicle. Nice 8mm slots though, aluminum extrusions, which makes it easy to run nuts and bolts in the channels. And you can also fit a nut in the channel, not necessarily a bolt. I prefer fitting them with a bolt in, and I'll show you next. Now, one thing to notice on the actual front runner roof racks is the side profile. You've got 20 to 25mm height difference. Now, yes, on this width roof rack, we could technically fit the tent directly onto the outside rails, but that stops you from bolting on the front runner accessories on the sides, where you need these rails and extensions like this shovel mount on this end, for example. So what I want to do is have a separate foot down on the rack to raise it above this ever so slightly, and basically not supporting it on the side, but supporting the tent on the rails that we're going to be putting on the roof rack. So great thing is, we take our Z-rail, it gives us the ability to position it, whether it be further back like that or further forward and have it overhanging over the front of the vehicle more. So what I've done is I've chosen up the furthest rear slat, and we're managing to line up with the third slat in on this specific rack, which is great. So basically what we're going to be having is that one's going to sit in there and that's going to sit in there. So that is the external positioning or the furthest back positioning we're looking at. In this instance as well, great, you can actually get your hand underneath the corner here, or your socket set or ratchet set to actually get in here to tighten up the bolts. So this is the plan so far. We will get this laid out and then we'll be lowering the tent down and choosing whether we're going to be sticking it on the rear mounting holes or the forward mounting holes, depending on the positioning of the tent itself. There's always things we look at when we're mounting tents onto vehicles, and that's basically your wind deflection. So in other words, where's the wind going off the windscreen? Is it going to throw it over the tent? Therefore, we tend to mount the tents further back also, instead of having it necessarily right over the cab of the vehicle, picking up all that unnecessary wind. Anyway, let me crack on with this and we'll get the tent on next. Actually, when we're putting the tents on, we take eye bolts with an M8 bolt underneath. Pretty simple. Slide them in the roof rail, and we just use the forklift to aid us in lifting the tents on. It allows us to get finer angles and measurements and position it out. But what I want you to notice here is basically we are using the roof rails to lift the tent. All right, so yes, it's more than strong enough to be able to lift the tent on these and to move it around. So if needed, great thing. Also, eye bolts while we're down here. Eye bolts are a great feature. If you've got some spare mattresses, a ground tent, or a friend's swag, you can always put that on the roof of the tent, use an eye bolt, throw a ratchet strap over the top and strap them down. So a few of you can go away for the weekend. So yeah, great little tip and trick is basically just using the eye bolts and a couple straps like this. All right, so basically going to be lining it up in position, but one of the first things we have to do when the tent's in the air, and I'm just getting a bit closer to the workshop there, is fit the bolts underneath the tent in the extrusions. All right, so underneath the tent, you'll find the 4 basically rails which the tent consists of underneath, and in them is a hole roughly in the middle. Okay, so an 8mm bolt like that, M8 nut, and bolts simply can slide in as needed. So what I'm basically doing is just setting this up, moving it to the outside of my rails, the same distance roughly as what we fitted the roof rails to the car, or the Z rails to the vehicle. So we can line it up pretty easily after that. So just repeat the process on all 8 bolts. Alrighty, so what we've done is we've fitted the rooftop tent onto the front on a roof rack. This was a pretty easy install once we had the Z rails in place, and the Z rails definitely proved to be the best choice in bracketry. I've positioned the tent a bit more forward, and why the reasoning is that it's lining up with the rear opening door. So this vehicle is also getting an install of an awning done, and because the door of the FJ Cruisers opens up basically hinged on the passenger side of the vehicle for Australia, better suited for the US markets, I suppose, with your drivers on that side of the vehicle, we had to get in a special awning, or we've looked for an awning that is the opposite to the usual situation on the left opening. So what's going to happen now is we're going to use our universal brackets. Now these originally are our tent to awning brackets, and they are suited for the Bush Company 270-degree gull wing awning, which is a 24-kilogram awning, quite a lot lighter than the one we have. Now we're going to be fitting the Darchi clips, customer's choice, and the main reason is because of that opening on the opposite direction, what we need for this job. But note, this awning does weigh 29.9 kilos, so it's extremely heavy in the awning category. But what I want to focus on is that, yes, our tent can handle the weight for the awning. Now, it's not going to be a straight-in fit, in other words, using our existing bolts to the tent itself. So we're probably going to, once that's mounted up, we're going to have to drill a new set of holes to match a specific awning. And really, these brackets can be used for any awning, whether it's a straight pull-out awning or another brand of 270-degree style awning. It doesn't really make a difference. So the universal brackets are great for that. I'm going to carry on with that install, get the awning on, and thanks for watching. For more information on our tent and the rest of our products, please go to thebushcompany.net.